I'm going to show you how to replace the cage bearings or retainer type bearings in a headset with loose bearings. One of the advantages of having loose bearings in the headset is that you're going to have more bearings in there, and so any impact is going to be distributed over more points, more bearings. What happens with cage bearings is, since there's fewer bearings, all that impact is more focused down, and you're more likely to get little dinks in the crown race. Also, with cage bearings, the bearings are less free to move around, and so when you do get impacts, you're more likely to get impacts in the same places over and over and over again. When you have loose bearings in there, the bearings move more freely around, and so you're less likely to have impacts in the same spot, time after time after time, and so just everything becomes more durable. One of the cons of having loose bearings in it is it's just a little bit more difficult to install them, where cage bearings, just pop them in, you're there. With loose bearings, you have to put them in individually, and when you go take things apart, they tend to fall out a little bit. So they're a little bit harder to use, but they're a little bit sturdier, and especially if you're going to be riding in rough terrain type thing. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to start out by removing the brakes from the forks because I need to drop the fork down. So I'm just going to go ahead and just remove these screws here. And pop these off. And then next I want to go ahead and remove the stem from the fork. This is a threaded headset. A threadless headset is going to be a little bit different. There. Pull this out. Like that. And next, go ahead and remove the lock nut on here. And remove this. And then drop down, and there's the cage bearings that I'm going to be replacing. These are the cage bearings I pulled out of the headset. And what you need to do is determine what size of bearings are in these cages. So you're going to have to remove a bearing out. So just take one bearing out. And I've got a gauge here from Park Tool. And so you just slide the bearing down through there. So it's not 1/8. It's 5/32 inch. So the hole that it goes through, that's the size the bearing is. So this is 5/32 inch. And so I've got some brand new 5/32 inch bearings right here. Now this is a threaded headset. A threadless headset's going to be set up slightly different. With a threaded headset, I've got a cup here, and then the cup was screwed down on the top. On a threadless headset, you're going to have a cup down here, and then you have another cup up here. What we're going to need to do is fill both cups with grease and load them with bearings. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with this one here over on the table, and then I'll come back and do this one on the stand. Okay, so here's the top cup. What I'm going to do is take some grease. This is like marine grease here, and I'm just going to go ahead and squirt some around this race right here. That. And then I can use my finger to kind of just smear it around, smooth it out a little bit, like that. Now I've got my bearings here, and what I'm going to do is just insert them one by one and press them down into the race like this. Okay, so now I've got all the bearings in there. You want to leave a gap in there about 2 to 3 bearings wide. You do not want to completely fill this. So these bearings are all side to side in here, but there's a gap right in there about 2 to 3 bearings wide. And here's the bottom cup, and I have this all, I have a bike in the stand with this facing up, just, you know, make it easier to go ahead and access. So I'm cleaning it out. Then I'm going to take some grease, inject some grease around the race. Then smear the grease around to smooth it out with my finger. I want to have enough grease in there that the bearings are going to stick in there when I insert them, like that. Now I want to go ahead and start inserting the bearings into the race. And there. And I want to leave a gap again about 2 to 3 bearings wide in there. And what that does is it allows the bearings to move freely in the race like this. Now the hard part's done. Now what I want to do is, I have all the bearings down in this cup down here, so I'm going to carefully slide this up through there. I want to be careful not to knock any of those bearings out of there. And then I have the other cup here with those bearings in there. So I'm going to go ahead and thread this onto here. And be careful not to knock any of those bearings out. And then screw that down onto the cone there. And so I want to adjust this so that it moves freely, but then doesn't have any play in there, and that actually feels pretty good like that. Okay, now I've got 2 little lock washers on here. There's like little notches in there, and they have to like line up with the little notch back there. Slide those on. I've got the lock nut, and I'll thread this on. And then this comes the tricky part, is I need to tighten this down without this moving in relationship to the fork. And so I'm going to tighten this down, and hopefully the cone's starting to turn a little bit. So with a cone wrench, I hold this with a cone wrench and then tighten the lock nut on. Like that. And then test the fork, make sure it moves nice and smoothly, check it for play. I don't want to have play in there, but I want to have it move smoothly, and that actually feels pretty good. I'll bring the handlebars back forward again, set these down into here, get that facing the right way. And then tighten this nut down into here. And I'll adjust it for straightness a little bit later when I get a wheel in there. Then we'll reinstall the brakes. There's that. And I don't have a wheel for this bike yet, so I'll get one. But right now that moves nice and smoothly, and everything's nice and tight in there. Well, I hope you found this video interesting or helpful. It's kind of a cool little thing to do. Especially if you don't have shocks on there, if you just have a fork on there, you're more likely to get more impact coming up in your headset. With shocks on there, some of that impact is dampened, so having more bearings in there is going to help. Anyway, if you found this video interesting or helpful, please click the like button. I always appreciate getting likes on my videos. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. There's a big subscribe button down here. Go ahead and click that. and you'll see new videos as they come out. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this has helped.